Okay, good afternoon. The Committee on International and Legal Affairs will come to order, noting the presence of council members Kiaina, Cordero, Hyer, and Talba. The rest of the members are excused. Okay, members, pursuant to Section 92-3.7 HRS, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in person in the council chamber and remotely when each agenda item is taken up. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-13 of the HRS, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. Once in-person testimony is concluded, I will proceed to those who have registered to testify remotely by video conference. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. I will then give persons who have not registered the opportunity to offer testimony. Please utilize the raised hand feature in Zoom to be called on. For those joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. When your number is called, please press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by a roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. For those committee members participating from outside of the council chamber, in accordance to HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audiovisual contact with you and cannot reconvene until we reestablish contact. Therefore, please announce beforehand if you will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. For written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described in the posted agenda. For cell phones, as a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones. And agenda item number 3, members, resolution 25-99 has been canceled and will not be considered today. It'll be brought back on a future agenda. The nominee was not available. Okay, moving to agenda item number 1, Bill 13, addressing private real property subject to a lease rental agreement, or HRS Chapter 521, relating to the Residential Landlord-Tenant Code. Members, Bill 13, CD1 is a consecutive referral that was heard first and amended by the Committee on Public Safety and Customer Services. Okay, we will now proceed to in-person testimony. When I call your name, please proceed to the podium and begin by stating your name. Is there anyone registered to testify in person?
Chair, testifier logged off.
Are there any in-person testifiers? Please come forward. Okay, see none. For remote testimony, are there any remote testifiers?
Chair,
okay.
There are none.
Okay, see none. Members, any? Oh, okay, please come forward.
Hi, good afternoon. Gabriel Huntington, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney with the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. I'm just here to voice our support for this bill. If you have questions, I'm available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Members, any questions? Chair Waters.
Thank you. Can you explain how this is supposed to work?
Yeah, the idea of this came out of the Game Room Task Force, which the council had set up. I was a member of that. And the goal of this is to get landlords involved in participating in closing game rooms on their properties by giving HPD a copy of their lease so that an inspection can be done under the terms of the lease, which includes the consent of the renter or the tenant. So this allows the landlord to go request HPD come with them, say, I believe there's a game room on my property, and the person can either let them in or not, but it will let them also know that HPD is aware of the game room, and it will help enforcement on that basis.
I think that'll work, but what safeguards are there for a landlord who just wants to hassle their tenant?
It's in HPD's discretion to participate or not.
So that's what you're saying is a safeguard? So they can say, no,
Yes.
we don't want to go.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Mahalo for all your work on this, and I definitely appreciate how it's come along. I just wanted to make sure I better understood. So when the HPD officer goes, we're going to assume that they're going to have sufficient familiarity with the landlord-tenant code when they're making assessments of whether the lessee's consent is sufficient.
Yeah, and part of the idea of having them include the lease and also that there's the HAR regulation piece is that it will be limited to only certain parts of HPD. For example, the gambling detail. So they would be aware that they have to look at this, and if they're not satisfied with the inspection routine, they would not participate in it.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then last question was just on subsection D2, having them document violations of the law, unsafe conditions, and then also document violations of the lease or rental agreement. What would be the necessity or the need for the final documentation?
So the documentation would allow HPD, again, at its discretion, to permit officers to participate in, say, eviction proceedings. If you have a cooperative landlord who wants the game room off their property, the gambling detail sergeant can say, my officer observed these things. Here's the report to support that. You can take this to court, and I'll make the officer available to testify.
Okay. And so I understand that in the sense that it's for the game room activities. I guess the only concern I had before, which I think a lot of it was remedied, was the idea that, one, even the concept of consent could be disputable, right? A disputable contract term where the landlord thinks they have a particular right of entry at a particular time, and maybe the tenant's disputing what's in the lease regarding the terms of that. I'll stop there because you were going to say something. So yeah.
The consent is voiced in terms of the tenant giving the consent.
Okay.
So when you have a lease or you have Chapter 521, Chapter 521 has a section there that says a tenant will not unreasonably withhold consent to the landlord. However, that is something that can be litigated should it come up. So they could deny entry, and they can go to eviction and say, I want to evict this person. I think they're doing something. They deny me entry, right? So it's not, the consent on the ground is still within the hands of the tenant.
Okay.
The tenant is not obligated to allow officers on their property without proper consent. And I'm assuming, there are HPD procedures for obtaining consent for all sorts of things, like searches, for example. I would imagine they would be using the same level of consent because they have their own procedures, and they're going to follow the procedures that lead to the adequate consent.
Yeah, no, that provides a lot of clarity, because that's not necessarily the language is more specific than just tenant consent, right? It'd be consent as provided in the lease rental agreement, or HRS Chapter 521. So then HPD's evaluation of consent would seemingly, based on this language, be based on the terms of either the lease, the rental agreement, or 521 versus just straight up the tenant gets to consent or not consent, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, again, that's, I guess the concern is HPD's interpreting the contract terms.
Well, HPD is still relying on the tenant to provide the consent, because you can deny your landlord access to your building. If you have a lease and you go home and look at your lease, it will say that your landlord has a right to inspect, but it has to be at reasonable times and dates and for reasonable purposes, that sort of thing. So you would still say, it's not a reasonable time for me, you're showing up in the middle of the afternoon, I'm on a Zoom call, that sort of thing. This is not reasonable. It needs to be done with consent of the tenant, in my view. And that's the way I intended to write it. If it doesn't read that way, maybe it needs some slight adjustment.
Okay, no, that's helpful. So you're saying the officer wouldn't be making an evaluation of the reasonableness and then facilitating entry?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, if somebody said no, the officer's not going to inspect. I mean, they have their own procedures, again, for obtaining consent for a variety of circumstances.
Okay, no, that's extremely helpful. And then, again, so the violations of the lease or rental agreement, so that would be to facilitate in the process of eviction proceedings?
Yes.
Okay, based on, again, the terms of the agreement?
Yes.
Okay, is that a novel or new role for HPD, or has that historically been used?
I mean, they can get brought in as through a subpoena process to the courts for testifying in civil matters. But because the reports are being shared voluntarily by HPD, withholding the reports in this situation would give them a protection and control over how much testifying they would be doing in civil matters.
Yeah, but again, I guess there's a difference between, in my mind, there might be a difference between doing a police report based on factually like what occurred, right? Versus writing a report with the intent of documenting violations of a lease agreement. Does that make sense?
It does. And
okay.
I think the types of violations I was thinking of were the types that we were talking about in Bill 12 when we were talking about DPP violations that are extremely obvious, like in game rooms, they kick holes in the wall, they stick wires through them, they plug things in. These are things that are a hazard and would be documentable by HPD, and just having HPD have the authority to give those reports out at its discretion would allow them to support these litigations if they wanted to.
Okay, appreciate that.
But it's very much in their discretion. I want to make it not in the discretion of a litigant, but in the discretion of the department.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Member Cordero.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And I know that you were at the Public Safety Committee meeting too, right?
Yes.
And so my question as it relates, like some rental agreements as stated in HRS as well as in our ROH and in the bill itself could be orally done, right?
Yes.
And so how would they be able to take a look back at their lease agreement as to allowing for to be searched or allow for entry?
So if you have an oral lease, the Chapter 521 serves as a backstop as the baseline rules. So if you made an oral lease with somebody and they were trying to say you were making a change that was very different than the background, 521 applies as sort of a baseline. And to modify it, it would have to be in writing. That's my understanding of the statute.
Thank you. And for the prosecuting attorney's office being in support of the bill, do you feel that there's enough deterrence from any landlord kind of pinpointing a particular tenant to kind of frame them in any way, shape, or form? Like, has there have to been like 4 or 5 instances where they were called for possible game room and possible search or possible police reports for it?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
So are there any instances or occurrences in the bill that will allow for protections of the tenant that will protect the tenant from being framed for something that they weren't doing specifically? Like, let's say, for example, the landlord should have called maybe 4 times. about this place or this unit being a possible game room?
I think that's more about trusting the gambling detail to sift through. I mean, to be honest, they mostly know where the game rooms are because, they have signs that are visible. There's cameras outside, and, people tell them where they are. And there's complaints from the neighborhood. So I don't think it'd be a raw allegation by a landlord with an axe to grind. HPD would decline to participate in a situation like that, is how I would see it.
Okay, thank you very much for that response. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Tolba. You good? Member Waters.
Yeah, thank you. Real quick. Yeah, I think you just pointed out earlier the largest loophole. The tenant can, let's say there was a gambling room there, and the tenant was running the gambling room. Wouldn't they just deny the request until they cleaned out the machines?
If so, cleaning out the machines would be a wonderful thing.
And then the police officers come with the landlord, do the inspection, and then 2 weeks later they bring the machines back.
Again, you'd have a landlord requesting another inspection. If this is a tool that deters people by having HPD approach and shut down game rooms even for a limited period of time, I think that it would be working as intended.
Okay. I mean, I can see that, but all right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Member Dos Santos Tam?
Thank you. I just want, actually, maybe I'll bring this up in discussion. I'll bring it up in discussion.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay, see none. Thank you.
Thank you, council members.
Okay, discussion?
Okay. Well, thank you, Chair, for hearing this measure, and thank you to the Public Safety Committee for hearing it on its first go-around. This is one of the 3 bills that came out of the Game Room Task Force that submitted its report at the end of last year. This particular measure is based off some similar policies that Los Angeles has put into place. And as the representative from the prosecuting attorney's office mentioned, this proposal may not be perfect, and this may not shut down every game room. But if it's helpful to landlords who have a difficult tenant that's operating a game room, where the landlord is scared to have to deal with this, and this came up in my district with a game room on School Street, where the landlord is just afraid to go talk to the people running the game room. They're afraid to talk to the bouncer outside, and they certainly aren't going to be let in on their own unless they're backed up by HPD. And if it results in, game rooms being shut down, machines being removed, I think that's a positive thing for our community. About a week and a half ago, we had a shooting outside of a game room, also on School Street, a different one. And this really highlights the fact that these game rooms bring guns and violence and drugs into our communities, and we need to say enough is enough. I introduced bills 5758 at the end of 2023, and those bills, we had lengthy discussions. They had hearings. They did not make it through the finish line. We did the Game Room Task Force again, and in that time, since I introduced bills 5758 2.5 years ago, there's been a stabbing in Laliha, there was a shooting in Kalihi, there was another stabbing in Chinatown related to a game room. This needs to end, and this cycle needs to stop. So I'm asking all of my colleagues here, let's pass out bills 11, 12, and 13, and at least give HPD the tools that they need to really tackle this problem that is very, very real in my community and a number of other communities as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I want to note that Member Tupola has now logged on. Is there anyone else in the room with you, Member Tupola?
Aloha, Chair. There's no one else here with me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, further discussion.
Chair?
Member Tupola.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, for your comments. I do want to also echo the same sentiments. I mean, definitely in Waianae, the game rooms have been a problem. For our public safety policy statement for our entire community, it was one of the major areas where we've had crime because of the high amount of cash that are in the game rooms, and as well because of the amount of weapons and trafficking that happens within there. We do believe that by passing this bill, as well as 11 and 12, that this will help to give those tools to HPD. And we want to thank those who have already been trying very hard, especially the narco vice team in my community that's been very actively trying to shut these down. 2 years ago, I had 24 open game rooms. Now I have 11, and we really would like to bring that number down to 0. So thank you, everyone, for your support, and thank you, Chair, for listing it on the agenda today.
Okay, thank you, members. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, Chair recommends that Bill 13, CD1, be reported out for passage on third reading. Any WRs or noes?
Reservations.
Noting reservations for Member Cordero. Okay, thank you, members. Okay, moving to agenda item number 2, confirming the appointment of Kenneth Fukunaga to the Ethics Commission. Is Mr. Fukunaga here? Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, good afternoon. I'm here to answer any questions. Or do you want me to say something?
It's up to you. You can make a statement or you don't have to.
So I can make a short statement. I was asked to apply by a sitting member of the Ethics Commission. And after thinking about it, I thought I'd go ahead. I've been on 3 state commissions already. 1 appointed by the governor, 2 by the legislature, and chaired each one. So I know what it's like to be on a commission. And it can take a lot of time or maybe not so much time. Depends on the structure and how it works. So I'm looking forward to finding out how the Ethics Commission works. I've taught a number of ethics courses for about 10 years to the Hawaii Paralegal Association each year with Bob LeClaire from KCC. I've taught the ethics course to the paralegals. Then I've had about 20 paid seminars I've done. About half of them I've provided an ethics section. For example, on HIPAA, the Health Insurance Act passed by Congress. I've done the ethics section for UH-JABSOM, the medical school, as well as some of the private organizations like the Hawaii Psychological Association, because I have a PhD in psychology and work closely with the American Psychological Association. So the ethics background I have comes from different angles. And also for the law firm I'm with, I do the conflict checks, which means looking at a case that's brand new coming in and seeing if we have any conflicts with existing cases or clients. So in the end, ethics really, when you go back to the days of the Greeks, is about living correctly, living the right life. And from that concept, you've got like tons of rules and regulations. But the basic concept is always, is this the right life that you're living? Is this, the life true to everybody else? And that's really the core of ethics. So I've dealt with the American Psychological Ethics, the Hawaii Bar Association Ethics, and we're working right now on with the judiciary on artificial intelligence ethics for the courts. So ethics permeates all sections of life. And once you have that core value, it's not that hard to deal with. The details are hard, but the basic concept is always the same. Does this feel right, basically?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify in person, please come forward. Angela?
Aloha. Just so I can confirm, that's the appointment candidate. Okay, I'd like to be in strong support. Angela Melody Young cares, since he was so passionate about his experience in ethics and also the philosophy for living a just and a moral life. And because he's a senior, so in this planning process for confirmation, I wanted to be helpful and respectful of seniors that will be appointed to the commissions and the board. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify in person? See none. Anybody on Zoom?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Members, any questions? Member Kiana.
No questions. I just wanted to thank Mr. Fukunaga for being here in person and for being willing to be on this commission. This commission is very important to us. And, you know, it's just good to hear directly from you on why you're doing it, because that's the type of value system that we should all endeavor to have. And I just think that you're going to do well in the commission. So thank you for putting yourself forward and for just what you have done in general. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, members? Okay, seeing none, Chair recommends that Resolution 25-104 be reported out for adoption. Any WRs or noes? Okay, seeing none. Okay, members, as I noted, agenda item 3 has been canceled. The appointee was unable to be here, so we'll bring it back on a future hearing. Agenda item number 4, urging the Hawaii Board on Geographic Names to rename Sand Island to Mauli Ola. We have a registered testifier, Rhonda Burke. Please come forward, Rhonda.
Aloha, I am Rhonda Burke, and I am the advocacy chair for OCRA, or the Oahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association. We are here to express our strong support for the proposed initiative to rename Sand Island to Mauli Ola, to respectfully request that we be a supporting organization in this important effort. The name Mauli Ola means breath of life in Hawaiian, which embodies values of healing, renewal, and interconnectedness that resonate deeply within our paddling community. Renaming Sand Island to Mauli Ola aligns with efforts to restore traditional place names and highlights the cultural and historical significance of this location, which was historically used by Native Hawaiians and later became a site of a World War II detention camp. OCRA is committed to supporting this effort through community engagement and advocacy. We would welcome the opportunity if we can collaborate to assist in any other way. Our sport is essentially built around our cultural heritage and the values, so this would be a small yet significant move toward that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to testify in person, please come forward. Seeing none, any testifiers remotely?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Chair?
Member Cordero, followed by Member Tupola.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to the Oahu, to OCRA for reaching out to my office to start this effort. I do want to note that this is a starting base. I know that this will not name like Sand Island Access Road, like renaming it. It won't be changing any of the addresses, but as noted, to be able to support placemaking and recognizing not just the culture and the history of the place, but what it has meant for people who have lived there and people who will continue to benefit from there. You know, that area not only houses a lot of where we have beaches in town, but it also houses a lot of where a lot of us get majority of our food and our wholesale goods and supplies, which houses all the ports, right? But it also houses a lot of the important social service providers for people experiencing homelessness, and it also houses where majority of this island's waste and wastewater gets sent to. So I think it's something that, along with being renamed, but being able to honor it and call it Mauli Ola, because it breathes life back to the rest of this island in such a meaningful manner, even till today. With that, I do want to note that it will have to go through state efforts. I do want to mahalo Senator Glenn Wakai, my senator, for being able, as well as the senator of Maliola, who is willing to take these steps forward as well. And also we've reached out, we've been doing certain town halls and been reaching out to the neighborhood board members, have not received any opposition to it. We reached out to SEBA, the Staten Island Business Association as well. We've reached out to the state representative, and we look forward to this foundation that will begin a journey of being able to recognize Maliola. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. Member Tupola.
Thank you, Chair. Is it okay if I ask the testifier a question?
Yes.
Can you let me know when she's standing there? I can't see her.
She's standing there right now.
Oh, okay. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you for being there. I just had a quick question. Are you guys part of the nonprofit Mauliola Ke'ehi? Is that the same one you guys run with the canoe club?
No, Okra is a different entity. We represent the canoe paddlers, all of the canoe paddlers. Mauliola Ke'ehi is a different organization that is in support.
Okay, quick question. With the name Mauliola and Ke'ehi, is Ke'ehi just the name of the lagoon area and Mauliola is the name of the flat island? Or is that how they got the name together? Sorry, I'm asking as a Hawaiian that wants to learn. And thank you very much, Councilmember Cordero, for doing this bill.
Yes, Mauliola is the entire area, and Ke'ehi is just the little harbor.
Oh, okay.
Where we
Mauliola
race.
is not just the island, though. It's the whole area?
Yes, the entire area.
Nice. Thank you so much for your support of this. And thank you again, Councilmember Cordero, for doing this and acknowledging place names and restoring them.
Okay, thank you, members.
Mahalo.
Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Chair recommends that Resolution 25-63 be reported out for adoption. Any WRs or noes? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, members. Okay, members, we're going to move to executive session. Members, we will now move to executive session. The following items, as posted on the agenda, have been referred to executive session. I will read the items individually to allow for oral public testimony on each. Agenda item number 5, temporary hazard pay for HGA. Are there anyone who would like to testify in person? Please come forward.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Fukuda with the Hawaii Firefighters Association. I'd like to testify. I'd like to rise in support of this temporary hazard pay settlement for the Hawaii Government Employees Association. The COVID pandemic was difficult for everyone. No one wanted to leave their house. These essential workers came to work so that the city could still function. That's all I want to say. I really appreciate everyone coming and doing their jobs during this difficult time, and I'd just like to say I support.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify? Please come forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Hadlock, also a HFFA Executive Board member, and echoing Firefighter Fukuda for the strong support of this bill, knowing that I'm sure it's been a process for HGA to come to terms for a THP settlement. So just expressing my support as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last call for in-person testifiers. See none. Are there any testifiers remotely?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 6. This is a resolution authorizing a civil action to take possession of 3808 Paki Avenue. Anyone wishing to testify in person? Please state your name and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair, Council members. Ted Hayden, representing Department of Parks and Recreation. We'd just like to make a couple of comments on item number 6. The city acquired the property in October of 1991 for the purposes, or for park purposes, from Genevieve Kaeo. As a condition of the sale, Ms. Ka'eo was allowed to continue to use the property as a personal residence, and Burton McKean was allowed to rent the property, was able to remain in the property until his demise, subject to paying the city monthly rent. Both Ms. Makeo and Mr. McKean died in 1997. The property is part of the Kapiolani Trust and under the trust, it is legally required to be used for recreational and non-commercial purposes. The current person in the house does not have a lease for the property, is not paying rent, and is refusing to leave the property voluntarily. DPR desires for the property to be used to expand the current community gardens in the area. So that is a very popular community garden and currently has a wait list of 28 people looking for a plot. And the current wait time is up to 3 years for someone to get a plot. We receive weekly inquiries about the community garden, and it's the second most popular community garden that we have. Let's see. The property is in serious disrepair, and there's piles of material in the yard and are becoming a blight and a nuisance. It faces Kapiolani Park and is visible from the street and walkways around the park. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify in person, please come forward. Okay, any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8. Request for authorization to initiate, Number 7, sorry. Authorizing the civil action to take possession of 48-389 Kamehameha Highway. Anyone here to testify? Any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item number 8, requesting the authorization to initiate foreclosure actions against the Revocable Living Trust of Diane Tsui Hung Lee and Diane Tsui Hung Lee to collect civil fines. Anyone here to testify in person? Anyone here to testify remotely?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 9, request for authorization to settle claims against the City and County of Honolulu by Joseph Nolan. Anyone here to testify in person? Any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 10, Tanimoto versus City and County of Honolulu. Any in-person testifiers? Any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 11, Waite versus Honolulu Liquor Commission. Any in-person testifiers? Any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12, Stephen Hyer versus City and County of Honolulu. Any in-person testifiers? Any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, agenda item number 13, Dancel versus City and County of Honolulu. Any in-person testifiers? Any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you, members. Members, are there any objections to convening into executive session?
Chair, I'll just be announcing during executive session. I'll be logging off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, without objections, the committee convenes into a closed meeting pursuant to HRS section 92-4 and 92-5A4 to consult in a closed meeting with its attorneys on questions and issues pertaining to the powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and/or liabilities of the city, the council, and its committees on the items listed on the agenda for executive session. The following persons will be participating in executive session: all council members present, Managing Director Formby, the Department of Corporation Counsel Viola, Deputies Pang, Constantino, Cook, Kral, Awang, and Lee, and Special Counsel Lex Smith. Office of Counsel Services, Director Winton Park, Deputy Director Jana Pitcher, Staff Attorney Saichi Layu. For those members participating, oh, you're going to log off, yeah? Councilmember Tupola. Okay. I will now call a recess.